第48屆香港國際電影節，隨意不隨意。
My name is Anand Patwardhan. The world is family is the English translation of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means that the world is family, and it's an ancient Sanskrit term. Just as we have an ancient caste system, which is terrible, which oppresses people, where people are divided, the working classes at the bottom, those who do the dirty work at the bottom, the elite is at the top. That is also an ancient tradition, but there was also an ancient idea that the whole world is family, that we are all related. So I choose to focus on the positive part of our inheritance and not the negative part. Because I believe that all the divisions that we have in our country, whether it's Hindu, Muslim or caste system, all of this is something we have to get over. That we have to treat each other as part of the family. That I react to the world around me, and I make movies because if I see something wrong, I want to talk about it. And I use the cinema medium to do that. Other people might use writing or poetry or whatever. My medium is through audiovisual, and I've done that for 50 years now. Even though there are cultural differences, language differences all over the world, but human beings are not that different. Human beings here or there, they can understand the human condition. So if you make a film and you put the subtitles in that language, wherever you're showing the film, people do understand what is being said, even though they may be from totally different backgrounds. Mine are documentary films, so there's no acting. There's not even any scripting. I don't even write a script for my movie. The movies that I've made have grown naturally from the decision to film, because I talk to people, I try to understand the situation with my camera, and then when I'm editing, I understand now this part of the story is missing, so I go and look for more material, and it's while editing that the whole structure of the film comes out. It's not a pre-decided script. I take many years to make a film, and when the film is made, then I spend many years showing the film. So right now I'm in the stage of showing the film. I'm not making anything right now. Well, it's not an easy film for the Hong Kong audience because they don't know enough about Indian history, about the colonial past, although Hong Kong also faced a colonial past. The same British who ruled India also ruled in Hong Kong. And the exact situation might be different. The Chinese and Indians will recognize what the colonial past was. I'm saying India and China went in different directions in terms of after getting rid of the colonial masters. India chose a path of kind of socialist democracy, while China chose the path of a communist system. In some ways, I think the Chinese actually improved the lives of the poorest people compared to India. Because in India, we still have great poverty, and the super rich are very rich, and the ordinary people are very poor. I think in China, it's not so bad, although now in China, there's also some super rich. So I think there are things to appreciate in China, the fact that they but they improved the conditions of the weakest and the poorest. At the same time, there are things that the Indian experiment did, which is the idea of trying to have a democratic system where people had the freedom to express themselves. And I don't think that exists in China to the same extent. But today, even in India, that democracy is getting smaller and smaller. we are also facing government dictatorship of a kind. So I didn't have a lot of trouble making this film because it was a home movie. It was a movie that I was making about my own family with my own small camera. So like a home movie, I was not making it for the public. But I realized as I was making it towards the end, when I was editing, that it is useful for others in India and outside, because our whole history is being rewritten right now by a very right-wing Hindu fundamentalist regime. And that is not the India that our freedom fighters fought for. We fought for a secular democracy. We fought so that all people would be equal. Hindus, Muslims, upper caste, lower caste, everything was supposed to, these differences should not have been there. And that is the feeling with which people like Mahatma Gandhi, Nehru, Dr. Ambedkar, and so many others were fighting to create a egalitarian society which was an equal rights for all. And today we are losing that perspective. And so I think the film is useful because it reminds people of what India could have been like if we had followed the ideology of those who fought for independence. And the people who are today in power in India are not people who fought for independence. Their ideology actually supported the British. They didn't fight against the British. They didn't even fight for the tricolor. They wanted their saffron flag. It's important for people to understand these. For someone in Hong Kong, it's not easy to understand because it's not their own problem. But I think it's important for the world to understand that the entire world is actually shifting to the right. Those in power are getting more and more control, and this is a bad thing. This is a thing that cannot be sustained. Not just my family also, but that whole generation that fought for independence are an inspiration. And so their stories are important, and we don't hear enough about them. We hear manufactured stories about the past. We don't hear first-hand, direct interviews with those people who witnessed that period of time. We now have a lot of fiction films being made telling you a different story because these are imaginary stories. I would recommend that people watch more documentary films because when you see fiction films, mostly it is fiction. It is somebody's imagination. But a lot of documentaries, even a bad documentary, it doesn't have to be a great documentary, but is actually recording things as they were. Like if you watch now old documentaries of, say, even Afghanistan in 1960s, you'll see people without any burqa, you'll see people singing songs, you'll see women playing sports. You realize that how times have changed, that suddenly now religion is being forced on people and people are being oppressed in the name of religion. So I think that documentary films record the past, and that's why they're important.